On today's episode, we talk Gold Glove nominations, go through some mailbag questions, and recap the Arizona Fall League. You're listening to the Bucko Banter podcast, brought to you by the Just Baseball Media Network. Cue the music.
Rockin' 101, she compliment my taste. Whiskey in my lemonade, cause I like the way it tastes. Best seats at the Pirates game, they let me run the base. Yeah, my time is like my money, cause I can't afford to waste. Wifey is a lawyer, take my date to my dates. Order steak by the plate, sending case after case. Run my race at my pace, clear the grass of the snake.
Welcome back. Another episode, a midweek episode discussing everything Pirates, Arizona Fall League. Got some mailbag questions. There's always something to talk about in the Pirates community.
And sometimes it doesn't even have to be about the Pirates to connect to us fans. Namely, someone selling the team. Just before we started recording, Jerry Reinsdorf, beloved owner of the Chicago White Sox, has considered selling the team and has apparently had some serious conversations with some investing groups, whether or not that's going to happen or they can push it across the finish line. He bought the team for like $20 million.
He's definitely going to make a lot of money. I'm sure it's worth like $1 to $2 billion, I'd say.
Over $1 billion. I mean, a team in Chicago, like easily.
Yeah, probably closer to $2 billion than anything. But
so it begs the question, Bob, you up?
Bob, you can do this.
Bag.
Get this bag, dude. Buy up the area around PNC Park. We don't care what you do with the North Shore. Do what you need to do. Make your money. That's where most of the money is going to come from. Sell the team to someone who's actually going to care about putting a winning product on the field. And do what you got to do outside of that. You can have your box. You can come to every Pirate game. That's okay.
I'm willing, and I'm speaking on behalf of a lot of people here. I'm willing to turn Tequila Cowboy into a Wiggle Whiskey bar.
I would do that because I'm never going back to Tequila Cowboy.
I can't. We could do an entire podcast series on the times we've had a Tequila Cowboy, and most of them just end up with someone being escorted out or just having a terrible end to the night.
Escorted out while your shoes are sticking to the floor.
Let's be real, though. I mean, the stick to the floor is elite. You got to stick to the floor.
It's an elite stick to floor.
It is elite stick to floor ratio. It's unbelievable. You could turn all the bars into Wiggle Whiskey. I'm totally okay with that. You can make a Wiggle Whiskey hotel, Wiggle Whiskey bars. They got the cigar bar down there. I know they record Hold My Cutter. Shout out Greg Brown and Michael McHenry. But listen, it's now the Wiggle Whiskey cigar bar. I don't buy up everything, parking garages, residential areas. Are those apartments his?
Yeah, no, but I think he's interested in having or investing in those apartments, the North Shore Flats that just opened. Yeah,
those places are crazy expensive, and the rooms are called the Clemente and the Warhol and all that kind of stuff.
How nice the place actually is. I mean, I know it just opened, but I wonder what the square footage is and if they're actually
it's probably every quote unquote luxury apartment that
they
always build.
Opening up a beer garden in the back. There's a big square in the back, which is if you walk out the home plate entrance, it's right outside of that, across the street, which would be cool. Next year, if anyone's been to Nationals Park, they have a place called the Dugout outside of the left field or the bullpen. Thank you. We went there together.
Yeah.
And it is a cool concept. I liked it. It was a big open square, and inside along the sides of the square you have vendors, but in the middle you also have a stage on the one end maybe.
Yeah.
And in the middle, everyone's just kind of gathering in the middle, and you're drinking or having some type of food or whatever. It's a way to socialize before a baseball game, and I think that'd be cool to have a baseball village outside of PNC Park.
Absolutely. I think the North Shore has already made strides as it is, but more stuff that attaches to the stadium that you could say hey, before the game, we're going to go down to whatever they call it. And there's a ton of options. Like you said, you can meet up, have a good time instead of tailgating and getting a spot. Tailgating for baseball is hard as it is because you're really not doing it throughout the week. And then you only got the weekends. You can't really do it Friday nights. You're kind of limited to Saturday, Sunday. right? So it's like if you can go to somewhere for like a quick drink or like a bite to eat, or I think they're going to have a screen out there. We're getting carried away. Bob, do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. Just sell the team.
You know what? I want to stop you right there because I saw a really funny tweet quoting a story that Jerry Reinsdorf was thinking about selling the team, and someone said like might as well go out on an all-time high, which is really funny because they set a record with how many losses they had this year. So Jerry's going out on a high potentially, and Bob, you can go out on a high. We'll call it a high. You can go out and look for greener pastures and let the Pirates thrive under new leadership. So
new leadership. Is there any limit to like a billionaire that you'd be like, hey, I don't want them buying the team? Or should we not get into this topic?
I don't know how deep we should go into this, but I will say at this point, it doesn't matter to me.
There's a low bar.
There's a very low bar.
There's like, a low bar.
Nah, I'm not going to name names, but there is a low bar, and I just want someone who's going to come in. It'd be nice to have a local guy like a Mark Cuban. I know that name's been bouncing around a lot, but like a local guy who actually cares about this organization, who actually cares about winning. And I use the comparison to Steve Cohen just because I know Steve Cohen is one of the richest men in the world, and it's an unfair comparison for the market of Pittsburgh. But like what he shows is that he actually he's a fan of the team. And he knows what he's doing in terms of running an organization, and he really cares about winning. Like that's like his number one priority. It's not about profit for him, and that's what I'd like to see in Pittsburgh.
What about Randy Gilson, the owner of Randy Land?
Is he very wealthy?
No, not at all. But it would be so funny.
I was gonna say I don't think that guy is that.
It's just like he's just like I ran out of room for trash in my backyard, so now it's
I'm gonna put it on the field at PNC Park. Little do you know, buddy, there's a lot of trash on that field already.
Oh man, I'm trying to think of like other obscure Pittsburgh natives that would buy the team. Like if Jeff Goldblum, well, it's not obscure, but like if Jeff Goldblum,
like Mario Lemieux had ownership in the Penguins, and I don't think he has that type of money. But like still, like if you were to get an ownership group together, we've seen Magic Johnson do it with the Dodgers, with the Commanders. I don't know, like Michael Keaton. I don't know what kind of money does Michael Keaton have. Can he put together a group?
I mean, if you had like a team of Michael Keaton, Jeff Goldblum, Joe Manganiello, Michael Keaton's net worth is $50 million.
Okay.
So we're like, I mean, if he throws all of his assets into the Pirates, like maybe
we're halfway there.
If he lives, we're halfway to 100 million. like it's not even remotely close.
Oh, never mind. That's right.
It's not 50 billion. No. I mean, like maybe he just lives underneath the Miller Lite bar.
I mean, that's a great place to live, in my opinion. I don't know.
We just like feed him Manny's barbecue.
I'll make him homemade pasta.
Come shack up with us, Michael Keaton. I mean,
I have another bedroom. I'm recording from it right now. Michael Keaton, the offer's on the table. If you buy the Pirates, you can live in my extra bedroom on 7th Street in downtown Pittsburgh. Probably shouldn't have put my address out there, but whatever.
We could always cut that. It doesn't matter. Listen, I think it's very clear anybody besides Bob would be great. But listen, that's been the talk of Pirates Twitter for years. But since the season ended, it's always just like, woe is us. We're down in the dumps. Let's focus on something positive real quick. Jared Triolo has a Gold Glove nomination.
Yep.
I think he definitely flew under the radar because the bat was atrocious at times this year, and he was somewhat positionless, although he won that second base position early in the year. We had him as our defensive player of the year. There wasn't many other options. And now he's up for a utility Gold Glove. The only other finalists are Brendan Donovan of the Cardinals and Kike Hernandez of the Dodgers, who also,
I think Triolo has
flash it around. I think
opportunity there to win that. Like, I just want to say real quick, we talked about Jared Triolo as our defensive player of the year, and everyone who listened to us at the beginning of the year, they knows that I was super high on Jared Triolo. Listen, I know the season didn't go as well as we thought it would, but like, he ended it well, he ended it strong, and you can't deny that the guy is a plus defender at multiple positions, and we named him the Bucko Banner defensive player of the year, which I think is kind of validating that he's up for a Gold Glove right now.
Yeah, 100%. In 1,010 innings across all positions, he had 3 errors.
That's insane.
And he ranked, he had 6 defensive runs saved, just behind Michael A. Taylor and Ke'Bryan Hayes, who missed a ton of time. It's a shame what's happening with Ke'Bryan, and we're going to get into this in a little bit, but not winning back-to-back Gold Gloves when you think like, hey, this is the first one. It's just kind of, we're going to go on like this Arenado run of just being that guy every single year, which he has the ability to do, but not seeing his name there hurts. But it's like the same issue, man. Like, where do you go with Triolo? You're assuming, he's going to be on the roster next year. You have all these outstanding questions. Where do you plug him in? Do you keep him as a utility guy, or are you like, hey, listen, like that bat kind of got going at the end of the year, right? There wasn't like this like crazy, like steady, I just can't hit throughout the whole year. And like when he was given the opportunity to get consistent reps at third base, get consistent reps at shortstop, at first base towards the very end, there was clear adjustments.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think going into next year, he needs to at least be in consideration. I can't say right now that you pencil him in as a starter. Like, I don't think there's many guys you pencil in as a starter. You got to go through your off season and all that. But I really like how he ended the season, and I think he's super valuable to roster in terms defensively, and also just given his offensive improvements at multiple positions. The Pirates value guys that can play multiple positions. So he's the guy that has to be on your radar. I don't care what you say. I don't care if you look at his stat line. Low 200s batting average. Yeah, I get it. But his last 2 months, go look at them. He was hitting over 300, and he's playing really well. So he's got to be in consideration. I'm looking forward to that spring training battle, and I think at the minimum, I think he could be in contention for a utility player spot next year.
Absolutely. I think he's on the roster. Why do you think Jared Triolo doesn't get the grace that the Pirates maybe gave to a Jack Sawinski or like a Henry Davis when working through his issues?
I'll tell you right now, because he doesn't put the ball in the seats 20 times a year. That's why. That's been a big focus in Major League Baseball. Like, it's can you slug? And listen, I think especially for a team like the Pirates, especially for an organization like the Pirates, I think diversity of a lineup is key. I think you need to have guys that do everything. I think you need to have guys that make consistent bat the ball, contact skills. I think you need to have guys that slug. Like, I think you need to have a healthy mix. But to have a guy like Jared Triolo come off the bench and play plus defense at 4 or 5 positions, I think any team would sign up for that. So yeah, Sawinski, his big draw is that the fact that he can put the ball in the seats, and he's done it over 25 times a year. But he also has the high K rates.
Right. And with Triolo is the our BABIP king, putting the ball in play, and that just kind of fell off the deep end as we got into the year. Here's something interesting. I was doing some research. Ke'Bryan Hayes, I think me and you can agree, like the end of last year was very promising. Not this, like the end of the 2023 season was very promising for the bat. And he carried that into spring training. Ke'Bryan Hayes in his last 30 games of 2023, 235, 267, 270 with 1 home run. Jared Triolo in his last 30 games, 273, 336, 404 with 3 home runs, 13 RBIs, and 3 stolen bases. I'm not saying like that. It's a very small sample size going into the end of the year, but you kind of want to avoid the same issue that you had with Hayes, right? Like, you're pushing Hayes every year and hoping he progresses because the glove is unbelievable, probably the best in the league when healthy. but you're kind of holding on to that bat waking up, and it's just not happening. So you kind of don't want to fall into that same hole with Triolo. So it's like, how long do you give that grace to see if that bat actually wakes up? Because that was his second year.
Yeah. So I think with the difference between Triolo and Ke'Bryan, like Ke'Bryan, like he was a first round pick, big money signing, and Triolo was like second or third. I mean, he was like from University of Houston. Like he was definitely like a higher end pick, but like he wasn't first round money. And you're expecting him to be like a future, like face of the franchise type of player. With Triolo, like I think that a realistic outcome is for him to be a utility guy off the bench. I think there's a stark difference between him and Ke'Bryan, because he can play multiple positions, and we're not necessarily expecting him to play every day.
Right.
So
you're not worried about the bat then?
No. I think the bat, given the improvements that we saw at the second half of the season, like I'm not saying that it's going to fix itself, but like I'm optimistic that it's trending in the right direction. And then we saw his first full year in the pros, and that I think he could have a long career in professional baseball, being a Ben Zobrist light.
You know, his launch angle sweet spot is in the 89th percentile.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good. I mean, like the numbers when you go on Savant, I'm not trying to like live and die by like the red and blue. I'm not like trying to say, hey,
you nerd.
Like, yeah, I mean, like, come on. I can watch the game. But like he could be a good ball player when you're like digging into it and looking at the individual stats and the advanced metrics. Like the sprint speed is really high. The glove is obviously incredible. It's just a matter of maybe elevating the ball and getting it in play a little bit more. If you're talking about him being an everyday player.
100%. And I think people are going to obsess over that because he is like 6'4", like he's a big dude. He's athletic. But maybe he is just what he is. Like, let's not tinker with him too much. Like if he's a super utility guy off the bench, like I think that's a perfect outcome for him. I think he could be really good at that. Yeah. So, I think we try to reinvent the wheel with some players, and sometimes when we do that, it doesn't end well for that player. So sometimes guys just are what they are. And I think Triolo could be a very valuable player in the role that we are portraying him as right now.
They are what they are. That's going to bring us into Ke'Bryan Hayes, because that's a player that I'm afraid to say that same statement. Yeah, they are who they are, because then we're drawing a hard line at this is a defensive all-star who's never going to contribute offensively. Yep. We put out a mailbag request. This is our first mailbag episode. We got some questions. We're going to spread them out throughout the next couple of episodes. We figured we're going to focus on one, keep it nice and short. What is the status of Ke'Bryan Hayes going into next year, and should the Pirates explore a trade? I'll let you take over this one, Scott, for next couple of minutes.
I'll give my opinion real quick. Listen, guys, I think that if I were the GM of the Pirates today, I would be exploring a trade market for Ke'Bryan Hayes this offseason. Okay, I know we signed him to a long-term deal. I know we envisioned him as the face of the franchise, but we didn't sign him to big money. And I think, given his age and given the contract, I think there will be suitors. He's a Gold Glover. I know he's coming off a bad offensive year, but maybe, hey, it's the off season. He's going to get healthy and he's going to bounce back. I think there are going to be teams that would bet on that. There are a lot of teams that are needing third baseman in this in this off season. I'm just thinking of his hometown team, the Houston Astros, who are most likely losing Alex Bregman to free agency. So I think there's a trade to be had. From my point of view, I'm looking at a 26-year-old third baseman who has chronic back issues. That scares me. I'm just going to put it out there. That scares the hell out of me. Just the way he carries himself. I know, and I'm not blaming that all on him. I know that we maybe haven't done him right in his years here. We saw the Athletic article before the season. He just doesn't seem thrilled to be here. And I think I would explore all options this offseason and hope to maybe get that money off the books and spread it elsewhere, man. I mean, I think we have holes in our corner outfield spots. So like we said last week, we have holes in the bullpen, and we could add more bats. And if our third baseman is going to be a Gold Glover every year that doesn't hit, I mean, we gotta supplement that elsewhere, or got to replace that value at the plate elsewhere. And maybe we can just get a guy that maybe provides a little bit less value defensively, but provides more value offensively at the third base spot. Just something to think about. That's the way I would go. You may not get a suitor for him in the trade market, but I would, if I'm a betting man, I would bet that Brian Hayes is not a Pirate by the start of 2025.
I like that. I think we have talked about it with Noah. We talked about it on last episode, and it's been a general talk around the Pirates world is getting creative, right?
Yep.
You're obviously not going to make a huge splash in free agency by paying someone $200 million. Probably not going to pay somebody even close to $100 million.
Especially for this class.
Right. So why not unload that contract, which is a very team-friendly deal for a Gold Glove third baseman. I look at the Astros. I think he could definitely revamp his career there in that type of culture. He's home. I think that makes sense. Outside of that, I was looking around for different trade partners. It gets a little cloudy after I'm like, okay, I think that's like the ideal match. I could see the Tampa Bay Rays possibly.
I like that.
They have Junior Caminero and Christopher Morel.
Caminero will probably be shortstop next year, I think.
So, well, you think they stick with Morel at third base then?
Morel plays a little bit of everywhere, man.
Right.
So
right.
I think he can be utilized everywhere.
I just think they have a lot of talent that they're willing to deal around. And I think maybe they might push the agenda a little bit next year, given that they fell off really hard in the East. Not saying that it's going to be like they're the Rays, like they're going to stick to their model, but maybe that changes a little bit. And there's a history of trades between the two teams. Not that we've won necessarily, but yeah, I think it might be time like where you just need a fresh start for the guy. I
admit that.
Right. I like Key Bryan. The glove is undeniable. I think there's a lot of talent when it comes to him at the plate that he's just not able to stay consistent with. And if we had the key to consistency, if we had the keys to Key Bryan, then all would be good. But there's just been too many ebbs and flows in the game when he steps into the box. And you could go back to like 2023 and be like, okay, he gets unlucky a ton. He hits the ball so hard. He hits it on the line, but then those turn into ground balls, and then those ground balls turn into double plays. And like, he's not the fastest guy in the world. So he's not getting on base a ton. So where does the advantage of having him in the lineup, even like if you're having him 6 through 9, even 7 through 9, come in other than him being a very good glove? And it just doesn't for a team that's looking to improve offensively. And I think that's where Jared Triolo comes into play. When you have those types of options, and I'm not saying it's a good option, I'm saying you might have a Gold Glove caliber player behind him that maybe can do more at the plate. So it's like, hey, maybe we'll trade the much like the elite defense for the very, very good defense. You're not really missing like that much. And maybe that'll get some pushback because he is that good with the glove, but maybe there's more promise at the plate. I don't know. Like, what's the difference? Can you say like Key Bryan Hayes is a much better hitter than Jared Triolo now?
No. I mean,
I think Key Bryan Hayes has more talent.
Yeah, I think,
but results mean everything right now. Like, it's a numbers game, man.
Yeah, I don't think you can confidently say that. Like when he first came up, we were like, oh wow, the bat to ball is legit. Like if he just like increases his launch angle and puts some more balls in the air. It might be like, this might be a superstar in the making. He kind of gives me Matt Chapman vibes. Because Matt Chapman would be a perennial all-star candidate if everything clicked on both sides of the ball. But it doesn't always. It mostly doesn't. Like he's an elite defender and always will be, but like he's streaky offensively. And those guys are valuable to have on your team, but like when you have a team constructed like the Pirates, it's just we're struggling for bats. At this point, like we need to add offense anywhere we can and slug anywhere we can, and it's a tough conversation. So I don't know, man. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he's on the roster next year. I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't on the roster next year. But if I'm the GM personally, I'm exploring all options.
I think this is what's clear to me, or at least clearer as I look at the bigger picture. The Pirates signed Ke'Bryan Hayes to the 7-year, 80 million,
$70 million.
Yeah, somewhere around that ballpark. I think at the time it was like the highest paid contract the Pirates
until Reynolds,
right, until Reynolds, and then obviously the contract with Keller. At that time, you're like, okay, we are committing to building around core guys. We're committing to building around Ke'Bryan. We're committing to building around Brian Reynolds. We're committed to building around O'Neal Cruz. We have these pieces coming together. The more I look at the picture, even outside of this conversation, just me sitting on my couch thinking about the 2025 Pirates, the less I think about him actually being a part of that core. And that's not me thinking about a trade. That's not me thinking about like his past. It's just me thinking about the future and how this team actually gets better. And it's hard for me to put him in that picture and say like, hey, this team needs to continue building around him, because I don't think that's the case. I think the case needs to be, they need to build around the guys that are actually contributing where they need to contribute.
It's a good point.
What do I know?
Not much, but
not much at all. Let's talk more baseball, Scott.
Let's do it.
Let's talk Arizona Fall League. Only a couple of games to recap this week. Our boy, friend of the show, Christian Curtis, took the mound, and then we had some Termarr Johnson at bats. Why don't you get us kicked off with Christian Curtis?
Yeah, I mean, we only have one game to really recap, but I'll just give you the Christian Curtis stat line. So yesterday, they had Sunday and Monday off. They played the Mesa Solar Sox. I'm a big hater of the Mesa Solar Sox.
The Mesa Solar Sox.
This is a Scorpions pod, big time. But Christian Curtis started, friend of the show, 3 innings pitched, 6 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 walks, 2 Ks, and a home run. All right, it wasn't maybe his cleanest outing. The ball was flying a little bit yesterday. He ends the outing with a 6 ERA after his 2 starts in Arizona Fall League. I think he has like 6 or 7 innings total pitch, so it's very small sample size, but I didn't get to see any video. I know you said you watched a lot of footage. I don't know if you captured anything on Christian Curtis, but that was his stat line for yesterday's outing.
Yeah, the stat line's not great, and he did get hit hard. I mean, he ran into a very hot Trey Morgan. Daniel Susac hit an absolute tank. I mean, the ball, for the A's. I mean, that ball probably hasn't landed. I mean, it was absolutely shit on. Just left a breaking ball up in the zone. He had a lot of swing and miss stuff early on. He gave up a hit on a miscommunication between Termarr Johnson and the center fielder. That was the center fielder's ball. Had some soft contact, broke 2 bats throughout the 3 innings. So, like, there's movement on the stuff. He was throwing 5 pitches. Like, the 2 seam had good run to it, but he gave up a couple bombs. Like, he missed his spots, and he got hit hard when he did miss those spots. So there was a lot of promise there, and I don't think it was anything to get hung up on. But, this is why he's out there. You got to work through those faults in your game and missing your spots and working on just the stuff generally. And when he's on, he's able to get soft contact, generate a lot of swing and miss. So nothing I'm worried about, but again, you're going up against a lot of very good prospects. Trey Morgan is unbelievable, man.
Did you see his home run? Or his grand slam? Yeah.
So good.
Crazy. I think Susak took him yard and then Trey Morgan took someone else yard, but Trey Morgan's really good, man. I watched him at LSU and he played with Skeens, like just a baller.
Dylan Cruz. Yeah. He's so athletic.
Yeah.
So athletic. And then we had Termarr Johnson on Tuesday, 1 for 4 with a double and a strikeout. He's hitting .357. And then Derek Diamond, 1 1/3, 1 hit, no earned, 2 Ks, 5.4 ERA. Termarr Johnson against the Solar Sox, still leading off, still giving a lot of big swings, man. The approach is still really good. He has a lot of big league takes. But I think there's some times in the count where like his eyes get really big, even when he has 2 strikes and he takes like a huge hack and the head flies out of the zone. But then you've seen times where he's been able to like drive the ball the other way with 2 outs. So it's like, I don't know where you sacrifice like the power for the contact and like find that sweet spot where you're comfortable throughout an account and not sacrificing power. Part of me thinks like, hey, maybe we should sacrifice just a little bit of power just because that swing is so hard as it is. And
yeah, it is.
I mean, he's going to run into bombs with that trajectory, but I'd like to see more barrels because when he hits the ball hard, he hits it very hard.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he has a violent swing, and we've seen that since high school. Like that was the whole thing about him in high school. It's like, dude, this swing is ferocious for a guy his size. But I like at least the results that are coming from him batting leadoff and playing in Arizona Fall League. It seems like he is striking out less in this very small sample size, and I don't know. It seems like he is providing some value at the top of the order. That'd be huge to have at the top of the order in Pittsburgh, a guy that can put the ball in the Allegheny while also taking a walk or getting on base one way or another. So that's the growth I'm looking for from him. He's still a very young player. He reached AA, and he's the guy I'm most excited about throughout this, fall league.
Yeah. I mean, one thing you could say is he's very he always looks comfortable.
Yeah.
In the box. Like that's where he's meant to be. And I agree, having that lefty at the top of the lineup, especially at PNC Park, would be so valuable for a team to be able to drive in runs with the swing of a bat or get ahead early in a game. But there's a lot of question marks, but let's just keep an eye on him. Hopefully he keeps improving, because I think we can say confidently that he is taking a step forward from where he was at the beginning of the year in Greensboro.
For sure. And then, this was the only game that we had to recap today since our last recording. But they do play tonight at 9:30. Obviously, we're recording Wednesday this is around 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. They play at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time against the Salt River Rafters.
Hate the Rafters.
I hate them, dude. Hate them. Scottsdale started 2-4. Minor setback, major comeback. You heard it here first. But in the lineup tonight, Ciani is batting 5th and playing right field. And Giovanni Blanchard is batting 7th and behind the dish. So we got two Pirates guys in the lineup. We'll see if Eddie Yeen or Brandon Bedoeau or Valentin Linares get an appearance out of the bullpen. But that's who we have scheduled to play tonight so far for the Pirates.
They lost 15-2 against the Solar Sox, man.
Dude, they've given up like a lot of runs. Their run differential was definitely not great, but who's counting in the Arizona Fall League? I don't know.
Apparently we are.
19-3 one game. Like,
the ball does carry differently out in Arizona. So
I may not get my Scorpions hat. It might be an embarrassment to wear that so far.
Yeah, I don't know. I hit pause on that real quick. That was some recency bias, but Let's close out with some Major League Baseball. The playoffs are still going on. Obviously, we have the Dodgers and the Mets in the NLCS, and then the Yankees and the Guardians in the ALCS. We'll start there with the Yankees and the Guardians. Alex Rodriguez said the Yankees might have the easiest path to the World Series in recent memory.
Yeah,
I don't think he's wrong. I'm not saying that it's still hard to get there, and they still need a battle, and they're going to go into Cleveland, who has the best home record in all of Major League Baseball, and it's a great environment for them. Maybe they'll be able to sneak away. They're going to have to win 2. Cleveland. They have to. Do you feel the same way? And do you think the Yankees, after last night with Judge going deep and Soto, is that the Yankees team that we're going to see moving forward?
Yeah, well, personally, I think the Guardians don't match up well with the Yankees. Like, I actually think I think the Royals rotation was actually more of a test for the Yankees. The Yankees faced their best pitcher last night, Tanner Bybee, and I mean, I'm a big fan of Tanner Bybee, but not a great matchup against the Yankees. And Garrett Cole didn't even pitch his best game. Just play it. Let's just put it out there. He didn't pitch his best game, but there are certain guys in this lineup that are keeping the Yankees above water. Gleyber Torres is one guy. I'm like, wow, this guy has been great out of the leadoff spot. I feel like he's having great at bats more often than not. He was 3 for 5 last night. Judge finally hit a home run. He's been cold in the playoffs, but normally when Judge has been cold in the playoffs, which has been every year he's been in the pros, he hasn't had anyone else to supplement him. And this year he's got Juan Soto. And Juan Soto's batting .353, and Giancarlo Stanton's batting .368 in the playoffs.
That's the biggest surprise.
That's the biggest boom for the Yankees. Like, it's if Stanton is going, and you got Judge, who you can at least rely on him to have a valuable at bat each game. And Juan Soto, every single at bat is competitive. It's huge. And in the rotation, Garrett Cole didn't even pitch his best, but Carlos Rodon has looked really good. I don't even care what people say about his first outing against the Royals. I thought he looked really good there. He just didn't harness his emotions, and we talked about that. He harnessed his emotions this game. He was biting his tongue. He wanted to fucking scream, but he looked really good. 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 9 Ks, no walks. That's what you signed Carlos Rodon for. So, man, and Luke Weaver out of the bullpen. I mean, this team is really good.
He's a dog, man. He's a dog.
He's a dog. He's a weirdo, but he's a dog. It's crazy. And Clay Holmes has looked really good. Clay Holmes being the first guy out of the pen has worked really well for them. Man, I'm optimistic. I think the Yankees are going to win this in 4 or 5. I really do.
I agree with that. Weaver's changeup is disgusting.
Gross.
It's so good. Yeah, man. I agree. I don't think the Guardians match up well here. You were right with them getting to Cobb early. They're just generally getting ahead early in the games. And then, Rodon and Garrett Cole. And then who do you have up next? Heel?
So it's Clark Schmidt tomorrow versus Matthew Boyd. And I like Matthew Boyd I like the Yankees against Matthew Boyd, I should say. And then you've got Luis Hill on game 4, but the Guardians haven't named their 4-star because they don't really have a 4-starter. It's probably going to be bullpen. So, if the Yankees win 1 game in Cleveland, I think they're going to win the 5th game in New York or the 5th game. Is the 5th game in Cleveland or New York? Might be in Cleveland.
I don't know.
But anyways, I like the Yankees in this series. And can we agree on one thing?
Maybe.
I am so tired of people saying that Jose Ramirez is the most underrated player in baseball because Jose Ramirez is a top 10 player in baseball. Can we agree on that?
He's probably not 10.
No, not 10. He does everything. And the only reason we call him underrated is the fact that he plays in Cleveland. He's one of the best offensive players in the league for the past 4 or 5 years.
From both sides of the plate.
Both sides of the plate, defensively, running the bases. Look at his stat sheet. It's disgusting. Jose Ramirez is a top player in this league.
Yeah, no, I agree. Cleveland, like I mentioned earlier, is such a cool environment. I had the chance to see them in the ALCS. Was that 19 against the
When did you go there?
The Blue Jays.
No. Bro, what? I was there for the Blue Jays ALCS.
Yeah.
16? That was 16.
Oh my God. Was that 16? Wow. The years are blending together.
Have we not talked about this? This is kind of fun to do this on air because when I interned for the Blue Jays was the year they went to the ALCS.
Yeah, it was 16.
16. It was when the Guardians lost to the Cubs in the World Series.
Yeah, it was an election year because I remember outside the stadium a bunch of fucking.
And you were really happy about that election.
Nutbags. Jesus Christ. For the record, no, I was not. No, I was not. But I do remember. Shout out, co-host, friend of the show, Adam Cinco. We went on a whim. Just drove to.
We might have been there the same night. That's
Cleveland, yeah, and the Guardians won that night. So
yeah, I was there when the Guardians won. I don't. To be fair, I think they won game 1 and 2, but
yeah, I got big leagued by Jimmy Rollins when I was there. We were walking in center field and they had like a Baseball Tonight or whoever was set up out there. And we both walked by and I'm like, hey, what's up, Jimmy? Just treated me like I didn't exist. I've never felt more low in my entire life as like a human being. I'm like, wow, I am nothing.
Jimmy was like, look at that future podcaster, that scum.
What an idiot. I looked up to him and then just with the snap of a finger, he just doesn't acknowledge my existence. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go fuck myself. That's fine.
Classic Philly.
Wow, that's interesting. Didn't know that. I don't know how. I talk to you every single day.
Yeah, seriously.
Let's go over to, so I think we both have Yankees going to the World Series on this one.
Yep.
And then let's go to Dodgers Mets. As we speak, the Dodgers are up 2-0 in the bottom of the second. This is a big one for the Dodgers. I think they got to take this game here. You saw the Mets magic in the last game. I think this is gonna go 6.
I do too, and I don't know, man. I'm skeptical because I do think like this game specifically is a must-win for the Dodgers. You got Buehler against Severino, and then tomorrow you got Yamamoto against Quintana. So you could easily leave New York up 3-1.
Who do you think has driven in the 2 RBIs for the Dodgers right now?
I'm going to take a guess and say Kike Hernandez.
You're close. Will Smith and Tommy Edman. How did that whole lineup?
Tommy Edman playing shortstop?
Yeah. Yeah, he is. Rojas, I think, is still hurt.
He's at the casino.
Yeah. I still am going with my pick. I had Dodgers Yankees World Series. I'm going to stick with the Dodgers here just because of the talent, but the Mets make it very fun and it makes me, I don't want to fall into like, let's like ride this Mets bandwagon. Like, woe is the Mets. Like they had this like glorious run. Like they have the highest payroll in all of baseball, but
we really treat them like a small market. It's really
I know
funny.
It's nuts. Like you said last week, they're a team from New York. It's the power of Grimace. That being said, I will not be upset if the Mets go to the World Series. Yeah. I don't think they will, but I mean, a Subway Series would be incredible for baseball. It maybe be bad for the city of New York. Just like it'll cause a civil war. But like, I think baseball would like to see that. I think the viewership's already gone through the roof with this postseason. And it's because you have a lot of the big teams, but I think the Mets magic runs out.
I think so too, eventually. But I am not going to lie to you guys. I'm rooting for a Yankees and Mets World Series for sure. I think a New York World Series would be really fun. And I don't know. This Mets team just seems like a team of destiny. They're fun to watch. I'm a big. They have a soft spot in my heart. I'm really enjoying watching Mark Vientos. Did you see his grand slam in Game 2?
Yeah,
pretty fucking awesome. And he does the interview after the game with his shades and 3 big chains on. Like I was like, dude, stunting on him. Let's go. And Sean Manaea has been a fun story for the Mets. Like that guy. I remember when Cody Duncan thought that he was a Pirate at like the first week of November of last year, but you know. You can't control what you can't control. So you got Severino and Buehler tonight, and then Quintana and Yamamoto tomorrow. And it's a fun series. It's definitely a fun series. You know, I think the National League is going to have it's going to be no matter who comes out, might be a favorite in the World Series. I'm just going to put it out there.
Yeah. Right now you got bases loaded for the Mets with 1 out and Lindor on deck.
Let's go.
So you never know what's going to happen with the swing of a bat. Let's get out of here, Scott.
Let's do it.
We've been going on for 45 minutes. Going to be some big news possibly announced in the next week. I cannot say anything for a lot of reasons, but potentially some very, 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 very big news is coming for all the Bucko Banter listeners and all the supporters. We cannot be more excited to potentially announce this said news early next week. We'll see. We'll keep everybody updated, but until then, it's just those big eye emojis we're going to keep posting until it happens. If you don't already, go to buckobanter.com, get your cold weather merch, get a hoodie, get a sweatshirt. Scott just ordered one the other day. Have you got it yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I ordered one I promised a friend that I would buy him one too, and I got him one. So, and he got it and he loves it. So
Perfect.
I'm excited to get mine.
Hell yeah. Go follow us on YouTube, hit subscribe, like, comment, go check out the short videos too. All the videos that you see on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter are also up on YouTube. Give it a like, give us a follow on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, OnlyFans. It's like $5 and we'll give you 3 months free.
Yeah. I'll send you a picture of my feet.
No paywalls. All right, guys.
All right, let's get out of here. Raise it.
Rockin' 101, she compliment my taste. Whiskey in my lemonade, cause I like the way it tastes. Best seats at the Pirates game, they let me run the base. Yeah, my time is like my money, cause I can't afford to waste. Wifey is a lawyer, take my date to my dates or the steak by the plates.